Welcome, everybody, to our weekly HDI Local Chapters live stream show. Our show is brought to you by Robert Half, a talent solutions firm and a leading provider of technology professionals needed to build, deploy, and operate technology in this cloud and digital world. They do this by placing highly skilled IT professionals either on a contract, a project, or a full-time basis. They basically help you keep your businesses going, right? You can browse for candidates, you can search for jobs, and you can access additional valuable information online for hiring and career insights at roberthalf.com/technology. All right, so let's get started with the show. Today, our guest, and Jerry, I apologize if it gets wrong. I always do this. I mess up the names. Jerry Arenas. Jerry is currently the Information Systems Administrator for MEI Pharma, Inc., and all that cool, because I don't want to give any more away than that, because Jerry's got a great story to tell about what he does. But when Jerry isn't solving crucial technical problems to help facilitate research for curing diseases, which is like big time enough, you can find him playing futbol, or as we call it over here on this side of the country or world, soccer, with his son Javi, who plays midfield for his local soccer league. And if you heard the pre-show, this kid's already on his way to being a professional soccer player for one of the big teams. Hey, Jerry, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Tom, for and your team for inviting me. Amy, thanks so much for the invite. I'm excited to be here.
And Amy, just so I know you're out there listening, because I saw you out there, just so you know that, Jerry can't see the chat. So if you talk smack on him, he's not going to see until he watches the rebroadcast. So, I told him you guys you give me crap all the time. And so that's all right. So listen, Jerry, I know we've got like I mentioned to you, it's only a 15-minute-ish show. So let's go ahead and get started. First of all, thank you for being our guest. And, the topic we're going to talk about fits the month. I mean, I don't know if many people realize this, but it is, National Cybersecurity Month, October. Is that because of Halloween and everything scary that goes on with the horror movies?
I guess so. I guess so.
But first, Jerry, tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do, and then maybe how you fell into cybersecurity, and then we'll get into some things.
So, where do I start? I started very early in my at a young age, my fascination for computers. And my first computer that I built was when I was 13 years old. My uncle, who's now a pilot, helped me build this computer. The computer, I remember when we went to a store that's no longer around in San Diego. We went to buy a hard drive, and I remember him saying, all right, let's choose between a 40 gig and a 60 gig hard drive. He said, I would go with actually 120. I think 120 was back then. Anyway, he said, I remember him saying, 60 gig is fine. I don't think ever in your life you will fill that thing. And it was very common for people to say that. It's like,
Jerry,
60 gigs.
You're right.
Yeah. So now I think there's like 60 gigs. That's nothing, right? But back in the days, that was a lot of data that you could store.
Jerry,
Jerry,
mine was 30 to 60 meg when I was, that. So I get
it. Yeah. So that's where I started. I started building this computer. I got involved more and more in the computer scene, and then I started an internship over at San Diego Futures Foundation. It's a foundation this is where I met also Amy. The purpose of this company or this organization is that they receive computers that are from the county, and they repurpose them for the community.
Beautiful.
So I was back then working for this cool nonprofit that was giving away computers to underprivileged population and schools and other kinds of cool end users, and one of them being nonprofits. We're targeting other nonprofits as well. So we started, donating computers to them and also providing IT support. Back then, I started, working on the repurposing of these computers and building them from scratch. Oh, not scratch, but just reformatting drives, imaging them, going through all this process, and basically also cleaning them up because they were all dusty. and I started programming all this hardware, and I started also a program with another department inside of the organization, teaching high school kids on how to do this, and kind of give them a purpose on around technology. Back then, it was early 2000s. Technology was around, but not as much as it is now these days. And when we would show them, like, this is what hardware looks like: RAM, hard drive, processor. Some kids were like, this is boring, but some kids were like, whoa, this is how it works. So at the end of the program, they would get to keep the computer that they would refurbish.
Nice.
So I had a lot of students coming back often to ask for more, and then they wanted more to learn more about computers, and Amy was also part of that as well. So it was a great program. It was very inspirational, and I got inspired myself. So from there, I moved to the IT support department, and I started providing support to nonprofits. We serve more than a dozen nonprofits, and we were I was doing anything from running network cables all the way to setting up their entire network, setting up servers, exchange servers, all kinds of things, routers, switches, and pretty much everything you can think about IT. I was doing it back then, and it was quite of a learning experience for me. I loved what I was doing back then. I still love what I'm doing, but it was different, right? Because I was working for a nonprofit that was giving away all this, all the technology, and helping others as well to achieve their goals, right? Certain nonprofits were also looking for funding for the cure of cancer and other things as well. So by me moving to the life science and biotech industry was also gratifying, because we're, like you said at the beginning, we're also looking for the cure of the disease. So it's a good thing, it's a good feeling. Definitely completely different environment, completely different industry, nonprofit and life science.
Yeah.
And biotech.
So you talk about life sciences, Jerry, to me, that screams like could be a lot of potential problems if people, steal things or get you to give me some valuable information. So let's talk a little bit about cybersecurity and, the impact that it has on companies and people, and some of the risks and concerns that you have as a cybersecurity guy.
Yeah. So, again, comparing both industries, and working as a managed service provider, I got to get exposed to a lot of different environments and different networks and different type of infrastructures, right? And you see anything from some companies investing very little to nothing on security. You see others that are really agnostic on cybersecurity, and they're really putting all their efforts on it. Again, I think because of the year I was working back then, not a lot of companies were investing on cybersecurity now as they are now these days, right? Because now everyone's are a little bit more aware of the challenges that are out there for companies, right?
I mean, Jerry, we can't be without our social media. Like, that never happens. Like, right?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Did I mention that? Sorry.
I know, right? It's like recently that happened. I don't know if there's an official statement yet, but something happened. Something bad happened a couple of days. Actually, yes, was it yesterday?
Day before.
A couple of days ago. Yeah. And they were down, and think about all the things that they touch, right? All the things that they are involved with. There's small businesses that rely on advertisement. There's small businesses that rely on communication. So it's very important for people to be aware of the challenges and the danger that is out there on the World Wide Web.
Yeah, and so you talk about awareness, and I think a lot of us that work professionally are kind of familiar with email, cybersecurity and email stuff, because you and I talked before the show about phishing and scams and that. But I think there's another component people don't even think of, is like the Internet of Things. You hear things like somebody can hijack your thermostat in your house. Who gives a crap if they can hijack your thermostat? But there is a concern if it's connected to anything else, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So again, going back to the whole situation about companies investing a huge amount of resources on certain technologies around that are there's several of them out there these days. They can do as much as they can, but it also depends on the end user, right? And this is where I want to emphasize my my time a little bit is there's all kinds of identity and access managers to enhance security. We maintain our systems patching, antivirus, multi-factor authentication, email gateways, all this security and much more, right? That we as an IT department invest everywhere where we see fit.
Right.
But if the end user is careless and doesn't pay attention, then it's really not a lot of there's a huge risk still there. Because
no, go ahead. Because what? Go ahead, finish your statement there.
Well, because again, it's I've always I used to say this in my class, and I still say this for my end users. Think before you click. Think before you are clicking on a link. Before you take any action on an email, please read before you click. Your antivirus and your email gateway or all kinds of security is only good as you allow it to be. Because if you say, it's like I always used to give this analogy, it's like, think about it as like your antivirus, think about it as like it's a bodyguard. It's your bodyguard back here. He's guarding you, right? He sees a threat, he immediately comes in and puts a hand and says, you can't go in. But if you say, oh, no, yeah, go ahead, let him in. All right. They step back, and that's when the threat comes in and you get damage. So it's the same thing for technology, right? If you're not reading, you're not being careful on what you're saying yes to, you just are clicking on and say, yeah. I don't have time to read this. I'll just yes, whatever.
So what should we be looking for?
It's a huge risk.
What should we be looking for?
Well, so first of all, you gotta understand. So the email that you're reading, is it really the person that he's saying he is? There's a lot of impersonation attacks out there that are creating all kinds of issues. Does your the type of writing your colleague does. Also, there's all kinds of banners that now these days that you see from, is it external, internal? Why is it if it's emailing you for internal, why is it saying that it's external? Like all kinds of red flags that you might ignore and just say, go ahead and take my money.
Yeah. I know one of the things that we've tried to put in place where we're at is we try not to put links in emails and say, go to our website that on, for either verification of this message. Correct. Or to find the link that we need you to go to.
Right. It requires a little bit more than just yes. All right. Put some thought through it. Is this really, why is he asking for this? It's not typical for him to ask this, right? Or just read between the lines. Sometimes they're misspelled. There's an image that you're not familiar with. Something. It's pay attention to what you're doing. That way you'll avoid. The moment you have, this is what I wanted to say too. The moment you have an email address that belongs to a company, or even Gmail, you're responsible for that. It's your responsibility to not get phished or not get attacked. You can invest all kinds of security around it, but if you're not being careful, then there will be some consequences, unfortunately.
So it's okay to let, when your kid's not playing soccer, to go ahead and let him play on your laptop from work, right? You hear that a lot. Like I know supporting people in the C-suite level, that seems to happen a decent bit. So we have about a minute left in the show, Jerry. I told you this would go fast.
Yeah.
Any tips, takeaways, anything else you'd like to share around this whole cybersecurity thing?
No, I think I think I've expressed exactly what I wanted to say. Just pay attention to what you're doing.
So let me ask you this question real quick then. We this COVID thing that seems to be lingering like a bad cyber virus. Is working from home more of a big deal with around cybersecurity, or is it just another day in the life of the super cyber crime fighters?
If you're not prepared and you don't have the infrastructure, it's definitely a challenge. But if you do, there's all kinds of tools that you can definitely make it happen.
Awesome. Well, Jerry, I'd like to, definitely want on the behalf of our production team, thank you for being on our show. This was awesome because it's so funny because, I didn't know before yesterday that you were going to talk cybersecurity, and I went, wait, it's October. So I was glad, but talk about a fitting thing, and it just turned out that way. So thanks to Amy for hooking us up with you and getting you on the show. And, we'd love to, talk to you and, so maybe sometime later in 2021 or wow, 2022. It's like crazy, right? There's no
absolutely
to get off the show, but so again, thank you, and we're gonna go ahead and wrap up the show. And hey, before we wrap up the show, obviously I wanted to mention, make sure you check out HDI local chapters. Let me flip to there we go. Maybe if I can get to the closing screen. Come on. Amy, there's one of your bloopers. Getting to the screen, so you can check out hdilocalchapters.org to find out more about local chapters and hooking up with a great community and with people like Jerry. And if you like our shows, remember to subscribe to our Twitch and our YouTube channels. And before I go, tomorrow I'm leaving for Buffalo for our local chapters leadership summit. So shout out to all of my fellow LCOs, local chapter officers that are heading up there. I can't wait to see you all. And if you're not going, I really am going to miss you and hope next year that we get to see you at that one, or even November in the conference coming up for HDI. So again, Jerry, thank you.
Thank you, Tom.
Audience, thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
And, we'll see you again next week.